Grace to you and peace from God our Father and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Have you ever seen those pictures that you're supposed to study because there's something not quite right with the picture and your job is to find out what's wrong with the picture? Sort of like Where's Waldo for adults. I just love looking at these, and I have a couple to show you this morning. So here's the first one. Take a look at that picture carefully. There's something wrong here. Something wrong. Give me a second. Do you see it? You see there's no seat for them to be sitting on. They're staging that to make it look like they're actually sitting, but they're not. They're not. They're just leaning up against that backrest. Let's try another one. Take a look at that real carefully. Give me a second. Okay, do you see what's wrong with that picture? All the people in the background have the same faces. Isn't that interesting? Now, if you're a guy, I completely understand why you're missing that. Okay, how about the next one? Okay, take a look at that. Okay, some of you see it, right? See, the moon is in the background of the astronaut standing on the moon. Okay, one more. See, take a look at this one. Look at it carefully. Okay. Do you see it? The word "the" is up there twice. So what's the point? Oh, there is no point, that's it. The point is that we oftentimes see what we want to see or see what we expect to see. But that's not necessarily what's really there. And quite frankly, this is a truth that I hate about myself. Because I get lazy. And I just kind of blow through life and look at things and think I know what I'm looking at, but I don't. I make quick judgments, I act on those judgments, and a lot of times what I think I'm seeing is not really what I'm seeing. And here's the problem. What we think we see then forms the way we think. What we think we see forms the way we think. But I started to wonder recently, based on this passage in John chapter 9, really, what is it that we're seeing? This whole chapter of 9 from St. John is absolutely amazing. I've been going over it over and over again, and it's bothered me. It's bothered me. Now, you only read 7 verses, but to catch the real drift of what's going on, I've got to read the whole chapter because there's all these characters and all of these dynamics that are taking place in the story. And by reading this passage, I have a tendency to think there's so many times that I look at things, maybe that you look at things, and you think you know what's real, you think you know what's really going on, but we don't. We don't. And it caused me to reflect upon what do we lose when we think we know what's going on, but it's not really going on. We lose things. You know, for instance, what do we lose when we think we know what's possible or impossible, but it's not reality? What do we lose when we think we know the character and the possibilities of other people or the limitations of other people? But we really don't. What do we lose when we think about ourselves and think, you know, what we're capable of and what our identity is, and yet we're not accurate? What do we lose when we form particular thoughts about who God is and what God is up to, and we might be wrong? Because the thing that strikes me about this reading in John chapter 9 is how many people are seeing things, but they're really not seeing things. Okay, so it starts with Jesus healing a blind man, but in reality, the blind man is not the one who's having trouble seeing. It's all the other characters. Right up front are the disciples, and the disciples think that they see a man who must have sinned, or his parents have sinned, in order to make him blind. But they're wrong. And then if we would have read a little bit farther, we would have encountered neighbors of the man who was born blind. And they see the guy who can now see, and they think all this time he's been tricking them. He's been duping them in order to get from them whatever beggars get. But they're wrong. And had we read even farther, we would have encountered the Pharisees who see this guy, but they really don't see this guy. What they see in this guy is now evidence that they can arrest Jesus for healing on the Sabbath. They think that this guy is nothing but evidence. But they're wrong. A bunch of people see, but they really don't see. They see what they want to see, but what they want to see, it's not the whole picture. It's sort of like looking at one of those pictures of something wrong in it and not allowing the image to wash over them in order to give them a greater and deeper perception of what reality is all about. And so now a big piece of the story, and it's probably the central piece of this whole story, is simply acknowledging that God is real, that God is active, that God is at work right now in this world and in your life, all around you, every moment, every second of every day. But you don't see God, do you? A lot of people, they need to have God show up in a way that God can be understood. In other words, God impacts our senses, to be able to see God, to taste God, to hear God, to feel God, to hear God. They need something that will give them the reliability that God is real. And if God does not show up in a sensible sort of way, then they would assume God is not real. But you know, that's how the primitive people used to live, right? If you couldn't touch, or taste, or smell, or hear, or see something, then it wasn't real. But we're not primitive. We've had the introduction of microscopes, telescopes, and all sorts of scientific devices that give evidence of a reality beyond that which we can sense. And so radio waves are a reality, for instance. Sound waves are a reality. Electromagnetic currents are a reality. Quarks are a reality. Black holes are a reality. And yet we can't see, and touch, and hear, and feel, and taste those things. But they're there. And so to say that since we can't see God negates the reality of God is quite a challenge. Now, granted, again, using our five senses in order to prove God's existence is going to be almost impossible. But that doesn't mean that God isn't real. It doesn't mean that God is not at work. It only means that we have to come up with another way in order to sense God. That's where faith comes in. I've always believed that everybody has faith. I've always believed that there are no atheists out there, because everybody has to have faith in something, because faith becomes the bridge that holds together the things that we can sense and the things that don't make sense and yet are real. Things that we can't see, for instance. And so, in an attempt to bridge between that which we can see and that which we know is real, we have faith. Faith is that bridge to help us to see a bigger picture. And in this passage in John, Jesus is saying that of all the choices that are out there for you to place your faith in, he suggests that he is the one who provides the greatest answer to the needs that you have of being able to define reality. I am the light of the world, he says. He doesn't say I'm one of the lights of the world, and he doesn't say, I'm a piece of the light of the world. He says, I am the light of the world. It's through me that you will be able to understand the realities of the world around you. It's through me that you will be given true sight. In other words, when you look at life through the lens of Jesus, then you begin to see what's really going on. And what's really going on for the disciples and for the neighbors of the blind man and for the Pharisees is, in reality, a guy who was blind, who now, because of the light of the world, he can see. They all see the same thing. But by faith in what Jesus did, this guy is now living testimony what the power of the light can do. And so, up to this point, this is an invitation to faith. And I'm hoping that you wrestle with that a little bit. If you are one who is skeptical of who God is, if you doubt the reality of God, allow for this challenge to lay before you, perhaps as an invitation. Because if your lens by which you understand the world is driven by things like economics, or politics, or materialism, or relationships, or cynicism, or entertainment, whatever it is, then you will be challenged to really see. But we hold that if Jesus is the light, vision becomes clearer. Now, supposing that you're good with that, well, then that changes everything, doesn't it? I mean, it's going to challenge the way that you see the world. I mean, if Jesus is the light of the world, then in and through him, we begin to see how God is at work in the world. And maybe how having this new light, we begin to see how God is making things brighter, challenging the preconceived notions of what we think about God. I mean, take, for instance, homelessness. I have been spending time with some of you at the warming center at St. Paul's Church over the last couple of weeks, which basically means that we have been babysitting people who are living on the streets, people who are cold at night, people who are wet these last couple of nights, and they need a place simply that's going to be safe and warm and inviting. And so we open up the doors to St. Paul Church. But it's not easy. It's not something I particularly like doing, because there are many challenging people who are living on the streets. And oftentimes over the last couple of weeks I've been wondering, does Jesus really know what he's talking about when he says, blessed are the poor? Because it's hard to see that there is a blessing here. But then to talk to some of them, at least those who can hold a conversation and not be hopped up on some sort of chemical, to listen to their life, to their story, and to know there's some real people here who are dealing with real problems and they need real help. And it causes you to sit there and think to yourself, this is humanity we're talking about. This is serious business. These aren't throwaway people. These are people who are some as young as little children and some as old as their grandparents, which might be to say as old as some of you. And you think this is not how people are supposed to live. And then I drive around town, and all of a sudden I see these people everywhere. And they're pushing shopping carts full of blankets and recyclables, or they're sitting out in front of stores in ragged clothes, maybe or maybe not, they're asking for money, I don't know. Or maybe they're the ones who just simply are on the street corners, and they're creating makeshift tents along busy highways. And you think, my God, what's going on here? It's not like all I can see. But maybe that's not the reality that God is showing you. Maybe it's another segment of people. Maybe all you can see right now in your life are grieving people. People who have lost something. They've lost a family member, a loved one. Maybe they lost a job. Maybe they're losing their faculties and they're overcome with grief. And everywhere you look, everyone you talk with, you pick up on that grief. or maybe it's children and youth. Maybe because of things that are taking place in our nation right now, all you see, all you experience are kids that are scared and worried, not just about their safety, but about everything. And that's all you see right now. What I'm saying is, I think this is how God works in each of our lives. Not the same, but each differently. As God opens to us a new reality of things that are going on all around us every day, but God begins to show us how this works. We like to sing that great song, Amazing Grace, I once was blind, but now I see. But isn't the truer refrain, shouldn't it be, I once was blind, but now I just have problems with my vision? Because slowly, ever slowly, we begin to see a world in which reality causes us to look to God. And so there is a sense of being trapped and seeing things, but not really seeing things. And I think that our whole country is being faced with this trap right now, struggling because of all of the bitter divisions that take place between people, believing what they believe to be true, and not being willing to see reality. I mean, you know it. You name it. We are a divided country, aren't we? Everything from foreign meddling into elections, to the right to bear arms, to tightening immigration, to the future of DACA, to Korean and now Russian nuclear arms, to international trade deals, to Black Lives Matter, to right to life or pro-choice, to the reduction or elimination of environmental restrictions, to single-payer medical insurance, to hashtag #MeToo. I mean, there's so many more. And like you, I have opinions about some of these things. I have some pretty strong opinions about some of these things, and oftentimes I'm left to believe that those who don't share my opinions are on the other side. And given the level of emotional upheaval and the personal fear and sometimes doom that I have about all of these things, you know what I want? I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong about my fears. I want to be wrong about what other people think the reality is. I want to be wrong about our future. And I want God to give me new eyes to see. So in this passage, Jesus does something that is really quite unique. He doesn't do this in other healing stories. He spits on the ground and he makes mud from the spittle and he cakes the guy's eyes with it and tells him to go wash his eyes and he'll be healed. And I wonder, why is Jesus doing this? This is weird. He doesn't have to do this. He could simply say the words and the guy would be, he's done that before. But what I read in this story, maybe you do too, is that, isn't this important for people to see? I mean, to sometimes to get muddy, to get mixed up into the mess of the world of lives, and then to have to get up close and personal in order to see what's really there. And as much as it might mean getting up close and personal to people who are homeless, or people who are grieving, or people who are fearful, maybe it means getting up close and personal to those that I would consider on the other side of issues of life, what I expect to see. And for our country as well, to see the reality of many confusing perspectives. And maybe it's causing me as well, when I look in the mirror every morning, to try to imagine what God is doing in my life as I confront all of these issues. Because I need this to be true. I need to stop looking for affirmation in what I already believe, and instead see the world and others and myself through the eyes of God, who literally loves us all madly. I need Jesus to be the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, the one who flips the script and disrupts the narrative and reveals the truth about God, the one who says, come and see, come and follow, which is to suggest that the journey that we are on when we walk with Christ is one you can only experience not already knowing where you are going. So what I see with my eyes is awfully limited. But what I'm capable of seeing with faith in my heart is so much larger. And if Jesus wants to show me what God is doing in the world beyond my expectations, all I can say is, open my eyes, Lord. Open my eyes. You too? Amen. The peace of the Lord be with you always. I invite you to rise and share the peace of Christ with those who are near you.